We all do it. There's no judgment. Everyone buries different emotions. You might have buried a lot of anger. You might have buried a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, humiliation. We all grow up having these things happen in lives, don't we? And we don't often process it at the time, so we bury it.
This is episode 149.
Hello and welcome to my podcast show, Your Coach, Helen Uskovic. This is the Smart Chat series. This is an episode where I chat to an expert or a thought leader from around the world on a certain topic.
All right, so welcome back to the show. I have such a beautiful, amazing, special guest today. Her name is Natalie Southgate, and she is just a powerhouse of a woman. And I met her through my old acting coach, our late acting coach, Lynette Sheldon. And I'm so grateful that I got to meet you, at her memorial. And that's when I realized, you know what? I need to do Chakradance. There's a reason why Lynette always used to talk about it. You're here now. I want to learn a new skill to help heal people. And you were just like an angel that got sent from heaven right at the right time. And so firstly, welcome to the show, Natalie.
Oh, what a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much, Helen. And gosh, bringing Lynette in right from the beginning, it does feel like we were divinely guided to meet, and it's such a blessing to be here, and I can feel she'd be with us right now for sure.
100%. She'd be so happy.
Yes.
So, Natalie,
Loving this.
Totally. Before we get started, can you give us a brief outline of how you got to where you are today? How did you found Chakradance, and what led you to this work?
Well, it's not something I set out to do, that's for sure. I didn't grow up saying, I'm going to do Chakradance. But in fact, I had a radically different life until I was kind of in my late 20s, because I used to work for an ad agency. I then ran a recruitment company for 7 years in London. So really different. But the whole time I was doing that, I could feel that there was more. There was always this hunger for something more. And I was blessed because I was led to a place called the College of Psychic Studies in London. And I remember hearing about this and going, what? There's a place called the College of Psychic Studies? Something like that exists? And it was like over 200 years old. And, and I thought, I've got to get there. And as I walked through these college doors, I just had that feeling, you probably had it yourself, that feeling of like, okay, my life just changed. I've just come home in some way. And it began this radical different path. And I discovered the chakras. And this was the first thing that happened. I discovered the chakras, and discovering the chakras for me literally felt like discovering pure gold. It was like, why have I not learnt about the chakras before? Why didn't I learn about the chakras in school? Because for me, they gave us such an incredible map of how to live our lives, how to do life properly. It was just such a beautiful system, and it was like, wow. And I just wanted to learn more and more. So I trained as a chakra healer, an energy healer, which led me on to discover Carl Jung, because Carl Jung was one of the first Westerners to take this Eastern map of the chakras and bring it to the Western mind. So I studied as a Jungian psychotherapist purely to learn more about the chakras. And all of that led me back to my childhood passion, which I'd let go, which was dance. It was like something, I think the more you start to do this healing work, the more you come back to who you really are. It was like, I have got to move. I've got to move my body. So it was really this sort of combination. And that happened over a period of maybe like 5 or 6 years that I was doing all of this healing work. And eventually it was this combination of my passions and my studies and sort of that coming home to myself that kind of birthed this Chakradance process within me.
That's so amazing. So let's talk about what is Chakradance, because I'm sure some listeners right now will be thinking, so what is Chakradance? Can you explain that to us? And I'd love for you to share, what is the meaning of Chakradance?
Okay, so really in a nutshell, Chakradance, I describe it as a movement therapy modality, okay, because it's really, fundamentally, it's all about helping people change their lives for the better. So it's like personal development sort of on many layers. And it's this fusion of the chakras that I was talking about, but with chakra resonant music. So we have a music that's all resonating to the vibrational frequency of each chakra. Dance, obviously, the movement, mandala art, and Jungian psychology. And when you fuse all of that together, you get Chakradance. And really what it is, it's a process where it's all about starting to release in a very safe and sacred and gentle way what we've buried throughout our lives. And, we all do it. It's no judgment.
Yeah.
Everyone buries different emotions. You might have buried a lot of anger. You might have buried a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, humiliation. We all grow up having these things happen in lives, don't we? And we don't often process it at the time, so we bury it. It might be some kind of trauma. Let's face it, human life, we all have trauma. Some of us will have big trauma. Some of us will have smaller traumas. But if we don't process them at the time, what we do, we bury them. We bury them in our energy systems, in our unconscious, and in our bodies. So Chakradance is really this process that's a beautiful process. It's not like this kind of hard, scary therapy. It's a beautiful, gentle, but very deep process where we go gently in a very safe and contained way to start to release what we have buried. And, Helen, if we don't do this release work, what it does, it just shows up as symptoms in our lives. So almost any symptom you have, whether it's an addiction, whether it's some sort of compulsive behavior, whether it's a pain in your lower back, whether it's this out of control anger explosions you have, whether it's intimacy issues, it's all just showing you, they're just symptoms. It's all just showing you that there's this blocked energy. So that's what Chakradance is about. It's a modality, it's a practice. It's not like you go in and heal everything in one go. That would be scary. 40 years of emotional baggage coming up in one session. That's not how it works. We go in very gently and slowly and release piece by piece by piece. And we start to become more and more whole. And these symptoms start to literally just drop away. Instead of trying to fix your addictions and fix this, it's the other way around. You go in and release and suddenly your life begins to change. So there is a magical feeling to it at the same time.
Yeah, it sounds like it's the pathway to help ease any sort of suffering, and it sounds very, very freeing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Freedom is the very first course I created. I called Freedom.
Yeah.
It's freedom. And in fact, in a Chakradance class in Australia, whenever I run anything in Australia, and it's like, if you could use one word to how you feel right now at the end of the class, the majority say free.
Yeah.
And in America, they say liberated, which is interesting, which is kind of a different take.
I could imagine.
Same thing.
Because you're moving your body, and lots of us, we store everything in the body. The body always keeps score. I don't know if you've read that book, but it really does. And the reason I love Chakradance is, as you mentioned, because it's so gentle and it's fun and it's not traumatizing or re-traumatizing. And it's just such a brilliant avenue to healing through a beautiful modality. I just love it so much. I'm so worried about my exam, but I'm studying. Natalie, it's time for your first curveball. Are you ready to play?
Yes, go for it.
What is something that most people don't know about you?
Whoa, okay, curveball time. Well, you would think doing the job that I do that I would have had this life of just, it's all been spiritual and healthy and beautiful. Yes. And I was a chain-smoking, cocktail lover, drinking partier from, my entire teenage life up until my early 20s. I lived in London running a recruitment company and did this insane in the 90s, in London. So you can only imagine what went on with that. So, it's an interesting thing that I was so far the other way and so disembodied because, I weighed 43 kilos or something back then. Do you know what I mean? I'd forget to eat. I just wasn't in my body at all. It was just, I worked really hard. I partied really hard. And that's when I was saying at the beginning, I felt like something was missing in my life. I think I would have been dead by now if I'd continued on like that. You know what I mean? So when I say I walked through the doors of the college and I was like, something has shifted for me here. My life's about to change. That was a big part of it. And not many people kind of would think that that's what my earlier life was like because it's so radically different now.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So,
That's funny because I used to be a DJ, so I used to work in nightclubs and that's all sex, drugs and rock and roll. And so I did that for like 10 years of my life and then I flipped And then I started working in health. And, so I'm able to resonate with lots and lots of people and lots of clients that come through. And I can now say, I understand. I've been through it. So it's a great life experience, I think, when you do find a turning point in your life that shapes you for the better. And that's when you realize, hold on, wow, this is my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And wow, I have values and now I'm finally in alignment with them. And that's why you're so inspiring to me, because that's what you've done. So anytime I'm feeling like, of course, I sit there and I think, what would Natalie do? Or what would someone else that I have a role model do? What would they do? So thank you very much. Your light is shining brightly in the world.
Oh, thank you. And I just want to add on to that. It's not like you then become perfect either. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think when you start to heal some things, other things pop up, and it's always a journey. And I think one of the things I'd really like to share, and this is from my experience, is that it's about coming back onto the path. I think we all keep falling off throughout life. Like I can have some bad weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like absolutely, where I get off path, but my comeback rate is quicker now. I got to go and meditate. I got to go and dance. Like I've got to get back. And it's that comeback rate rather than living this life of seemingly perfection. That's not human either.
Yeah.
And that's an important part of it for me as well.
100%. I love that. Just like these curveballs that I throw. It's like, whoa, what are we going to do now? Okay, I'm just going to walk through this. So let's get back onto chakras. I'd love for you, just in case, we have listeners that don't understand chakras, if you could briefly describe what they are, what their purpose is, and what their importance is in our lives.
I will, yes. So I think I'm going to go back slightly, because I think to understand the chakras, it's important to just know from the get-go that, and we'll remember that we are more than just the physical body. And I think that's, something that we often forget, obviously. Yeah. And what we have obviously is this energy body, and I imagine anyone listening to your show would be aware of that. But just for the reminder that we do actually have what's known as the aura, this energy body, which is a mass of, it's like a matrix, I see it, of all of these different energies. It's our emotions and our thoughts and our sexual energy, our spiritual energy, and it's all interconnecting with the physical body. Now, the chakras are like the power centers of the aura. Yeah. And what they do, they regulate the flow of energy in and out of our bodies and of the aura. So you can imagine, think of an energy flow. When energy is flowing freely, that's when we feel good. That's when things are happening. That's when life is in flow. That's when we are free from disease, But if there's a block in that flow of energy, we experience that in some kind of negative way in our lives. And that's why it's so important to be working with clearing the chakras. And we have 7 major chakras. And if you can picture them, they're in a vertical line, kind of with our spine. And they range from the bottom of the spine right to the top of the head. And each one influences not only the health of different body parts and different organs, which is so helpful in a kind of diagnostic way. If you're having sort of particular health issues, you can relate it to that chakra, which is another way of them working on the healing rather than just on the physical. But also, as well as that, each chakra influences a whole different aspect of our lives. And this is the part that I find really juicy, because it's like, and I'll try and do it in one word to speed it up. So the first one is all about our instincts. Okay. And the second chakra is all about our sexuality. And the third one is all about our power, our inner power. And the fourth one's all about how we love. Okay, I'm trying to give one word. I want to keep going.
So you're doing great. You're doing great.
The fifth one is all about our communication, how we express ourselves. This is all about our third eye, is all about our intuition. And this is all about our sense of spirituality. So you can see from instincts to spirituality and everything in between, the chakras encompass the whole of human experience. So when we're working on the chakras, we keep working on every chakra and clearing this flow. We're actually working on the whole aspect of our lives and can step into this whole way of living from wholeness rather than just kind of living out different parts of ourselves. We start to be more well-rounded as a human being and step more into our full kind of authenticity.
Yeah, I love everything that you just said. I feel like I just had a chakra cleanse. So, Natalie, can you share why dancing and the chakras work so well together, and how did you create this? Like, where were you when you just were like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to use dance with chakras. And then I'm going to actually use music that really, really gets deep into the chakras. Tell us your process of your mind. I love this.
So how it happened. So what was the first part? There were two questions in one there.
I know.
Oh, dancing. Why dancing?
Yeah.
Why dancing? Let's start with there first. So I think for me, the chakras, you can work with the chakras in so many ways. And look, we do in Chakradance. You can do chakra mantras. You can use chakra oils. There's chakra affirmations. There's so many different ways. And I highly recommend them all. And as I said, we bring a lot of them into Chakradance. Mm-hmm. But like you said earlier, everything is stored in the body. You know, if we need to release things. So it's not just the chakra energy clearing we want to do. We want to actually impact the physical body as well. And, you know, as you were saying, it's like we go through life, we have these experiences, and in an ideal world, we experience them at the time and we release them. But for most of us, when we have some kind of painful experience, instead of releasing it, we in the moment try and bury it because we don't want to feel the pain. It's a human response. We don't want to feel the pain. Yeah. So we stop the process and we bury it with the chakras, the energy field, but we bury it in our bodies. And this becomes the tension in your body. It's like the vibration of the trauma. This is how I see it. The vibration of the trauma gets woven into the very muscles and ligaments and in our bodies. And you can see it in people. You can see when someone's walking around with heartbreak, can't you? You know, they're sunken over, and the people with the backs and the necks, and you can see where we're storing this blocked emotion in the bodies. So I don't feel it's enough in healing work to just do the energy work. I think it's a huge part of it, to do the energy work, to do the inner psyche healing as well, the shadow work, but we need to release it physically. And Chakradance, the dance in Chakradance is not, as you know, not a performance-based dance. It's not a set steps or technique. It's being moved organically by what's coming up for you. And what it is, you're actually releasing from the body. As the emotion comes back out, you're actually releasing it from the body through movement. So dance is a little bit of it should almost be chakra movement. Do you know what I mean? Because it is actually moving this energy through your body. And that, I believe, really deepens the process.
Yeah.
For that layer of healing. And I think there's also a sense of embodiment that comes through dance. I think for many of us, we check out of our bodies when we've had trauma or big emotions. And through the dance, it's an opportunity to actually safely re-enter all of these different parts of your body and become more anchored here, you know.
100%.
So that's kind of the reasoning behind dance. But how it came to be was, it was something far greater than me. So I had been studying at the college, and I was now a chakra healer, and I was working in a clinic as a chakra. I was still running my recruitment company. This was all on the side at night. I was working in the clinic doing healing sessions. And then because I was so into the chakras, I became kind of the chakra girl at the college, and they asked me if I would teach a beginner's workshop on the chakras.
No way.
And I was like, okay, I can do this. I was super sonically shy, but I was like, I love this so much. I'm gonna do this. So I had people in rows, and I had a whiteboard, and I started to teach everything I knew about the chakras. And I found myself moving as I was teaching, because I was teaching energy work. Yeah. I was teaching flow, and I was like, gosh, I just want to be moving. So I did this workshop. Now at the same time, I think I told you I'd already been drawn back to dance, and I was trying to find, as I was doing all this healing work, and I was trying to find depth, but I couldn't go back to the nightclubs, too old, too unhealthy. I was like, I'm not going to go back there. And I didn't want to do a ballet or tap or, which is what I did as a kid. So I was trying to find a chakra dance that existed. I was trying to find a dance class of what I was looking for. So I was doing like shamanic dance and elemental dance and improvisation dance. And in the end, I just thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to, every night at home, turn the lights out, light a candle, set my intention, and I'm just going to dance. And that I had been doing that for about probably 12 months before this day, right? So that was just my practice, and I just would do that as my meditation. Now, this one particular day, I was 30 years old, and I had just taught this workshop, and I came home, and I remember my husband was away, and I thought, awesome, I can really crank the music up. I'm going to move all the furniture. And I lit my candle, and I started to do my nightly practice. And as I was dancing that night, I started to feel that different parts of the music were activating different chakras. And I think because I'd been so in the chakras and teaching it, and I was like, wow, that, and not only could I feel the chakra being activated, but the feeling coming up and the memory coming up was like, that's really connected to that chakra. And it's all happened quite quickly. It was like, and then I realized another one. And then I literally heard the name in a voice that wasn't even mine go, Chakradance. And I went, yes,
wow.
Of course, this is my way of healing. Of course, I need to dance my chakras. And that's how it started. And I just started to do this purely, I had no intention of making it a modality. I thought this was my way of healing. And I knew the key was the music because I could feel that's what it was. So I was like, I went on this huge big hunt for music. I was like, right, this is all about, and it took, I was doing years of this, years of collecting music. I then taught myself how to edit. I'd edit little pieces of music, and I'd do it all intuitively in the beginning. I later learned there's a science to it, but I just did it all intuitively. And I was just doing this, and that's when my life just radically began to change. This is when big, big things happened. This was when I was like, no. And that's when friends said to me, what are you on? What are you doing? You are so different. You are glowing. You had done some kind of detox. Like, what are you? And I was like, well, I'm doing this thing. And they were like, well, can we do it? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Okay. And it literally started from running it for friends in my recruitment company at night until we filled it. And then we hired a hall, and then we hired a bigger hall. Then we've hired, and then I went, I've got to sell the recruitment company and just do this. And and I've been doing that was 24 years ago, and it's just grown from there.
This is amazing. It's incredible. You are incredible. Can you share your experience? Was it with Deepak? What happened? Something blew up for you. I mean, share it. What was that?
Well, do you know, it's a funny thing because leaving a successful recruitment company to do a business where you're dancing in the dark, you can imagine people's responses like, what? Why are you doing that? Like, that's crazy. So, but I was really blessed to have some really quick signs from the universe saying, you're on the right path, girlfriend. Keep going, keep doing it, keep doing it. And one of them was that Louise Hay's publishing company phoned me and said, look, we're having this huge event. Would you, and we want to we've got these big speakers coming out from America. Would you get up on stage and open the shows for them and get everybody? There'll be like a few thousand people at each event. And will you get up on the stage and lead them through a chakra dance to keep their energy? And I said, terrified, but I said, yes. Then found out it was Deepak Chopra and was like, oh my goodness, okay, this is next level. So yeah, he was one of the speakers that I went and opened his Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane shows. And it went so well that he then invited me over to work as part of he runs an event every year called Seduction of Spirit. So I went and ran 2 Chakradance workshops at that, and now have an open invitation to whenever I'm in the States or Hawaii is his other spot to come and run Chakradance. He loves it. He's really into it, which is amazing. But for me, it was like, thank you, universe. That is such a gift.
Yeah. So did you know of him before that? Were you starstruck? Like, what were you feeling?
I was terrified. I was, Chakradance has really helped me to come more and more into my truth and into myself, and to be able to do work like this. I was chronically shy. So if I had been told back then, it was like, no way. I think I would have said no. Like, I can't do it. But by the time I got to that, I was still in the early days, but I was really nervous. Absolutely, I was really nervous. But he's such a being of light and calm that just being in his presence, immediately just so humbled, and there's a healing that takes place. And, he was so beautiful to me. He was lovely. So, that then you sort of go, I know we're all humans as well, so but a big blessing that I'm very grateful for, because it really helped put Chakradance on the map. He really helped in a big way.
It's such an amazing experience. It's just like two people met at the right time. Such an inspiring story. Natalie, it's time for your next curveball. Are you ready to play?
Oh, I love curveballs. Let's go.
What is your favorite form of self-care?
Okay. No, there's no question of that. It's the beach. It's the sun. It's even though they say you shouldn't lay in the sun, every Sunday afternoon without fail, and I really prioritize that, and diary, put it in the diary, is on my own as well. On my own, total
solitude.
I'll put the sunscreen on, but in the sun and just at the beach. There's something. I'm a Pisces. I'm just a lover of water. I've moved to live near the beach.
Yeah.
I grew up in cities, and I was like, by the beach, I feel like I can breathe again. So without a doubt, and I go for a beach walk as often as I can. Yeah, so that's my self-care.
Yes, my dream life is to be near a beach, wake up with the sun, go to sleep with the sun, eat at the beach, and just, I'm like you, but I'm a Libra, so.
My son's a Libra. Yeah, but the air, you think, the salty air at the beach.
Yes, all about the textures and stuff and the feelings that I get. So, Natalie, let's dive back into this conversation because I love it so much. Can you share any story of Chakradance helping to heal or helping someone move through any healing? Like, is there some off the top of your head where you're like, they started Chakradance and their life just changed?
Do you know, there are so many of those. And I think that's the main reason that I never, ever get tired of this work. Like, it's the stories, it's the feedback. And there have been some phenomenal ones on so many different levels. So I'll try and pull in one or two. And there's one girl that springs to mind who, because I've just watched her blossom so much, and I've been so grateful to be such a big part of her healing journey. But it was a woman who had quite a severe eating disorder, bulimia, and a host of other addictive tendencies, and was, really struggling, living it back at home with her parents because they didn't want to really let her out of their sight, and was suicidal tendencies as well. And she started Chakradance and actually committed in a big way. It was her healing way. And I will say this, I used to think Chakradance is for the whole world. Everyone should Chakradance. Secretly, I still do. But there are some people who it's just their way, and if it's your way, it's your way. And she found this, and she'd done all the therapy and all the, programs, the eating disorder programs and the clinics. And she found this and went, and fully committed to a really deep program that I was running over 9 months. Okay, so it was a deep program. Whoa. But she showed up. She absolutely showed up and committed really, really deeply to it. And her mother ended up contacting me to even thank me, because the change that happened in her, not only did she completely heal the bulimia and the other tendencies that she had, the other addictive issues, which I won't go into all of those, but she discovered this beautiful creativity. And I think that's what sits under addiction a lot of the time and disorders, is this untapped creativity. And she found this expressive way through painting, and she's gone on to create the most beautiful artworks. And I get sent images of them, and just the change in her life, for me, that's been, one of the absolute great journeys. And as I said, there are so many like this. Yeah. So it's beautiful. And one other I'll touch on just very briefly is there's a woman that had suffered severe sexual trauma. And, it doesn't have to be this severe to do Chakradance, by the way. Chakradance can be if you're just feeling stuck in life. Like, I'm using quite deep examples. Not everyone's had all of this when they come, but it helps them change their lives. But this particular girl had quite a, severe time as a child, and because of that had developed a lot of symptoms, drinking, drugs, sexually acting out. Like, really, her life was a bit of a mess mess because of this. And she came to Chakradance and was quite open about not the trauma, was open about who she was. And I think this is where, having come from the part, there's no judgment, and she could feel there's no judgment. And she started on this healing journey. She was working live with me. The other girl was through an e-course. So, one's on the other side of the world, one's in the same country as me. Anyway, she worked through this trauma and her to the point where she ended up healing so much, releasing the trauma from her body. These addictions changed. She ended up actually facing the person that had caused all of these issues in the first place. And, actually confronted him. He ended up in prison, actually. And she completely turned her life around and ended up creating her own healing center where she does the most incredible work healing other trauma victims now from this, bringing in Chakradance as part of that as well. Yeah. So her work now is so profound, but she had to go through all of that herself, and she did. She went in there, she got in there, and she committed. These people commit. They come in, they do the practice. It's not always pretty what comes up,
Already.
So they're just a couple. Yeah, there's so many. But for other people, it's more like, their relationships improve because they're finally able to have the conversation that they need to have with their partner that they've sat on for 20 years, or there's intimacy issues that as they heal their intimacy issues, their relationships get better because it's all the inner healing work. So there's lots of dimensions. It depends on each individual's story and journey and where they're at. And Chakradance goes in and works with whoever you are at that time in your life of what's the next thing that needs to come up for healing so that you can grow.
This is so amazing. Natalie, it's time for your last curveball. Are you ready to play?
Always ready to play.
So I'm a mindset coach and I love hearing about how people master their mind. So I would love to hear how you navigate from a negative mindset to a positive mindset.
Okay, so I think for me it would be the breath, to be honest. I do a lot of breath work as well. And because the breath is something I have on my here right now, I don't have to go and get some music or, do anything else. For me, the minute I can feel something energetically happening or, the mind taking over, there is one other technique I'd love to share. I don't know if it's too off the charts, but I immediately I immediately go to my breath. Yeah. But I'm just going to share it. I'm just going to be out there. So I work with a lot of different goddesses and different, deities and different angelic beings and all of that in my work. And one of the goddesses I work with is goddess Sekhmet, okay? And she's the ancient Egyptian goddess of war, actually. And she's taught me many things, but one of the things that she taught me is that she's taught me a lot about boundaries, but she's also taught me about that we have this dwelling in our mind, where we dwell, and that we allow any old negative thought or any old, thinking or belief just to kind of stroll on in, sit in our mind and dwell in there and take over. And one of the messages she has taught me, just like she's taught me to put fire rings of protection around my energy field to let who I want to come into my space, she showed me this image of having a fire ring in my mind that has a gateway. So when some negative, you're not good enough, or, you can't do that, or who do you think you are, is whatever it is coming in, instead of it just coming in and sitting in there and taking over, it's catching it. It's like she sits there, she's got a chant, Sa, Sikem, Sahu, and I see a fire boundary and chant it. And it basically just goes, no, you're not actually going to come in and dwell in my mind. It's not truth. She's the protector of the truth of the soul. She's goddess of war because she's the battles that we have in our mind, but she's this protector of your soul truth. So she's ferocious. She's got the head of a lion. She roars. She's got the head of a lion to protect the truth of the soul, and that's not truth. So anything that's coming in that's not of the nature that is of our soul essence, she just burns away. So I go to the breath and to Goddess Sekhmet to go, no, only good things are going to dwell in here.
Yeah, that's so amazing. I'm so glad I asked that question.
Yeah.
Natalie, I'm
glad I gave the fuller answer.
I know. That's the truth, right? I am so thankful for your time today. I'm so thankful for all your words of wisdom today, and your energy. You just make me want to jump up and down 100 times because you're so energetic. I love it. Natalie, is there anything else that you'd like to share before you get off?
Just that, first I'd like to say thank you. Thank you so much. What a beautiful energy you have. And I feel so grateful that you've invited me here to share this time with you and to invite me into your world. Very, very blessed. So thank you. And just if anyone would like to do Chakradance, that we do have some free gifts on our website. So if we've got something called the Chakra Health Check. So that is just a beautiful little guide where it's not like a test, okay? It's not about judging yourself, but it's just got some questions where you can start to get a sense of where your own chakras are at. And with that, there's some guidance on if you do have an imbalance in one chakra, what are some things, some practical things that you can do to start working with them. So there's that. And there's also a 15-minute guided Chakradance experience. Both of those are free on the website. So if anyone, which is just chakradance.com. So if anyone would like to look at their chakras and try out Chakradance, that is, an amazing thing to just go and do straight away. But if you'd like to go deeper, being held by a facilitator. So I've got a facilitator training and train up, as you know, because this is exactly what you're doing, Helen. And this is by far the best way to experience Chakradance is to be held by one of our trained facilitators because, as you know, they're not just learning it out of a book. Each facilitator has gone deeply through this process for themselves. You know, I was taught by Carl Jung that you can only take people to the places you've been, and our facilitators go in and do the work. So they're guiding you from that place. So finding a facilitator near you, and we've got over 1,000 facilitators now across 60 countries.
Wow.
So we're a growing tribe.
Yeah.
So finding a facilitator near you and actually going to a live class or joining one of the e-course programs, highly recommended if you're feeling like, yes, this feels like me, I want to do this Chakradance. There's some starting ways for you. That
so
you
much.
can do.
We will put all of the links on the show notes, guys, so that you can go and find Natalie and connect with her if this all resonates with you. You are amazing. Congratulations on the 1,000 facilitators in 60 different countries. That is a massive achievement. I'm so proud of all of your accolades. Again, you're so inspiring and motivating. So thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much. So it's been such a blessing. I've loved every minute. Thank you.
Me too. Maybe we'll get you back on the show one time.
Sounds good. I'll always be happy to come back.
Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoy the show today. Remember, you can jump on my Instagram to let me know your thoughts on my podcast show. I would love to see it. And if you have a moment, please share a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts so that we can help move the show along together. If you share a review, please send me a screenshot of it so that I can send you a thank you gift. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode. I'll see you next week for next week's episode. Bye.